Hello, friends. Hey, Nancy. Glad you are here. I'm glad you're well. Been on my heart a bunch. You and Bob and your dad, your whole family. I am so nice to see you here. I know I have my spies that keep me going. That things are progressing for you all. But just that is great. I'm so glad you're here. Good morning, everybody. Hello, hello. I am here today. Yes, I wasn't sure if I was going to make it. I've had a few different appointments this morning that couldn't be changed. So, but I am here. I am. So I am, and I am excited to be here. It is a good day. This high summer heat and all the things that are going on are really quite spectacular. That as we get ready for 4th of July, as we get ready for all of this. Good morning, Yvette. Hello, hello. Hope everybody's doing all right. So glad you're here. If anybody can, how's the sound? We doing okay, or is that all right? Good morning, John. Got some good news. My dad has his eighth surgery this year, and this appears to be finally fully successful. Oh, that's terrific. Oh, I'm so glad to hear that he's healing well. My goodness, eight. That's what a journey that is. Like, but your dad has always been that just to kind of see him outside and see him working in the garden and the way he just kind of meticulously keeps that whole place. It's always been an inspiration to me to see that, like your folks' house there, and to see him along. And I know so anyway, that's great news. That is a gift. Good morning, Donna. Glad you're here. Sharon Landry, everybody. Hello, Sharon. I know. I am. I'm looking forward to see what the next piece of music you're going to go hear is, Sharon. I need to know. So, good morning, everybody. Hey, Vicky. So glad you're here. Glad you made it. That's awesome. Glad things are going well for you. So, let's see one or two other folks that are making their way in, and we'll get going here today. Outside watering. Huh. You're a brave soul. Although today feels a little better than yesterday, but it is still warm. So, well, good morning, everybody. It is the 30th day. This is the last day of June. Can you believe this? We're to July, 6 months down, 2021. I, it still feels like 2019. I'm sorry, but it is that things have, I don't know about for you, but for me, the things have feel as though they are moving quick. So so welcome. We're gonna, I want to talk today. I'm in the car because I've been out running some errands and that sort of stuff, and I wanted to, um, and so today I want to bring us to this the story in Second Kings, and it starts with Elijah's servant, who they are getting ready to fight the Syrian army, and the Syrian army is formidable, and they're all arrayed on the horizon, and the servant is nervous. He is scared because he does not see that they're going to pull this one out, because there's way more Syrians out there than there are the forces of Israel. And so he turns to Elijah and he says, like, I don't think we're going to make it. you know. And so, but Elijah turns back to him and he says these words. This is from the 16th verse of the 6th chapter of Second Kings. He says, "Fear not, for they that are with us are more than they that are with them." And this was not encouraging, as you might well imagine, to the uh, to his servant. He's like, whoa, 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 what do you mean? Like, look at them all there. Look at our guys. Look at those. And then Elijah prayed, and he prayed that his eyes might be opened. He prayed that his eyes might be opened. And in the prayer that his eyes might be opened, he saw horses and chariots arrayed across the mountainside, because they're kind of getting ready to fight in the valley, and they're both on these two hills. This kind of how the ancients tended to fight, and so they were going to meet in this valley, and on the whole mountainside his eyes were opened, that he saw that there were the whole hosts of all those that fought with them that could not be seen. It's a little moment of a little Lord of the Rings moment, where the dead of the mountain come and join in the battle uh, with the with all the fighters, and that this great ghost army appears, and nobody else sees it, of course, but this servant and Elijah. But in their witnessing this, the forces of Israel come to pass, that they become victorious. They're victorious on that day. I tell you this story to tell you another story, because I want to tell stories today. Why not? That actually today, 500 years ago, was what is called the Night of Sorrows. It is in and it was it was the Spanish retreat from Teotihuacan, from the Aztec, the capital of the Aztec Empire, uh, when the Aztecs rose up against Cortez and his forces in 1520. It's exactly 500 years ago today. Now, why do I care about that? Now, maybe if you remember way back, maybe you don't. But one of the things I always like Cortez, even though he's this imperial guy, he's out there doing things. I believe strongly people are locked in their time. I'm locked in my time. You're locked in your time. Our ancestors were not locked in their time. It's very problematic to go judge our ancestors by a morality that we would purport today. So I don't defend all the things that Cortez did, but Cortez, because they're in many ways, many of them are indefendable. There were horrible things that he did, but also he was dealing with an ethic of his day, and you and I submit, would deal a little differently. Would deal no differently, given us growing in the ethic that they came about. So anyway, that's an aside, but it's worth saying, because Cortez arrives in Veracruz. He arrives in Veracruz with a thousand soldiers, 16 horses, and a few sailors, and they set off towards the capital. This happens some months before today, and they set off for the capital, and they're heading towards that. But before they leave, as they're consolidating their establishment of the city of Veracruz in Mexico, Cortez burns the ships, all the ships that they'd come. Because this is the thing about Cortez that we often don't know. Also, is that Cortez leaves without orders. Cortez doesn't. He and his little merry band, they take off they take off with the blessing of the king, but not with the blessing of the nobles that he's supposed to be working for. So he's gone rogue. He's out there in the Apocalypse Now place. Oh, the horror! Like, he's out in that world. And what does he do to galvanize The effort, the idea, the journey that these 1,000 soldiers and he are on, what do? He burns the ships. He says there is no going back. We can only go forward. And this is as Cortez begins to move now into the city and into the central, and he will go and he'll fight Montezuma. He will overcome Montezuma. Montezuma II will reassert himself, and the Aztecs will rise up, and they'll have to fight kind of this fighting withdrawal all the way back to Veracruz. It is the greatest defeat that Cortez ever experiences in his kind of journey into Mexico. Now, it is, however, and it is called by the Spanish, in Spanish, it's called the Day of Sorrows, because of the losses of the soldiers that actually drown in the lake as they're trying to escape back to it is his greatest defeat. The guy who can't go backwards, the guy who declares going backwards. And I tell you that because just like the servant who stands with Elijah, who stands with the man of God, and looks to the man of God and says, I don't think we're going to make it. Looks at the forces arrayed against them, looks at all of the Syrians out there and all of their horses and all of their chariots, and becomes fearful. And it's only when Elijah prays and his eyes are opened that he sees the true forces that are with him. Cortez, this day, 500 years ago, gets his greatest defeat. And yet it is only that. It is a defeat. It is not a complete loss. He retreats, he reconsolidates his forces, and he will go on to to liberate in many ways the Aztec people. I mean, we know one of the ways you can talk about this is that they're enslaved, but they're also enslaved by the Aztec hierarchy, and the Aztec hierarchy is nothing fun to work for either. So there's a number of different things that are talking about in the history of this. But what I want to really look at is to look at this idea that we think when we make the decision not to go backwards, that what we mean is we're never going to retreat. We're never going to be, and that's just not the world. It's just not our spiritual life. Some days we're going to have a bad day. Some days we are going to doubt. Some days we are going to feel empty. Some days we are going to feel profound grief and loss. Some days we will have our day of sorrows. Some days we will look at the forces arrayed against us and we will say, we've got nothing. We're doomed. We're not going to make it. And that the invitation is much like the invitation of Elijah to his servant, is that we might pray that our eyes be opened to see the forces that are working with us. I've said this before, and I continue to say it, and it was reminded to me by a friend the other day, is that to remember that God, the universe, all of it, is not working against us. It is not working for our destruction. It is not working for our as a complete and utter enemy against us. Quite the opposite. That the world is working for us. That God is paving a way. That God is arraying forces that we cannot see, that are on the mountaintop, that are on the mountainside, that are ready to strike for us, even though we cannot make them. We may not be able to see them in any particular moment, but one of our invitations to pray, one of our invitations to come back to the one who made us, one of the invitations to come back to face with Jesus as best as we can, to come back to this Elijah moment of praying that our eyes might be opened, to see the forces that are arrayed, not against us, but the forces that are arrayed for us. And to understand we are going to have our day of sorrows. We're going to have our days where we think we've arrived, we think we've established it, we think we've gotten there. And then we get one bad phone call, we get one car accident, or we get one diagnosis, or we get one pink slip, and our world tumbles a little bit backwards. But it does not mean that we do not, and we have not, burned the ships, that we have not made the decision for Christ, that we have not made the decision to go forward, no matter where the journey takes us. And that sometimes means going backwards. It sometimes means retracing our steps. It sometimes means that we are not, that every day isn't sunshines and rainbows and lucky charms. That is the reality of the spiritual walk. And it is only hucksters and salesmen that would tell you otherwise. Sometimes our walk is actually a night of sorrows. Sometimes our walk is a defeat and a retreat. Sometimes the journey is a raid where we cannot see the forces arrayed for us. But the invitation, I think, is right there, that with Elijah. Because if you remember, in the Transfiguration, way ahead, 1,000 years ahead of Elijah, when Jesus goes to the mountaintop and with the disciples to have this moment where Jesus will be revealed for who and whose he really is as the Son of God incarnate in this world. Who will he find on the mountaintop with him? Elijah, the one who could see the forces arrayed for him and for us and for the world. That light, that same light, dwells with Christ, and it dwells with you and I. So I invite you today, friends, if there's something in your life, if there's something right now, whether it's maybe it's with your life, maybe it's with our church, maybe it's a way ahead that we don't know. How are we gonna, we're through the pandemic thing, but we're not through the pandemic thing, and with that, and how all this will constellate, and how all this will look in the future, how we're going to continue to uh, be invitational in this world that seems to be more and more difficult to extend invitations into. All of that, maybe it's something that's near to you. Maybe somebody you love is sick. Maybe you're sick. Maybe you've got some loss. Maybe you're afflicted by people with you and around you. Maybe you're in your own night of sorrows for no reason other than the fact that you are. But whatever that thing is, I invite you to pray. Pray that your eyes might be open to see the forces that are arrayed for you, to see the horses and the chariots of God that are on your side. One of my favorite theologians ever said, when we move one thing, God moves 1,000 things. When we see the forces, we can dare enter the battle once again. We can dare step in. And even if we feel like we're in retreat, even if we feel like we're moving fast, we can come back to that initial moment, that initial place where we made the decision for Christ, where we made the decision that we would be people of faith, that we would be ones who would follow this Jesus guy. We can come back to our own little Veracruz where we said we would not go back. We can return there, marshal our forces, see that which is arrayed for us in our prayers, and move forward in the battle once again. All right, friends, this is it's my hope for you today that you'll find this. You'll find wherever your battles are, wherever your worries are, wherever your defeats are, wherever your night of sorrows are, that you'll pray and see the very army of God that is on your side. All right, that's my hope for you, all of you. Oh, Nancy, I'm so glad you're here. I want to give you a big hug, honey. Oh, I'm so glad for it. I'm so glad to see your name here. Thank you. Thanks for joining in. Amy, traveling mercies to you. I know you guys are headed south. I so hope it's sweet. Priscilla, glad you're here with us. Audrey, listening on the car radio. All right, Audrey, woo! All right, friends. It's so good to see you all. Blessings of peace and grace to you. We'll pick it up tomorrow with another 11:11.